Hello and welcome in. In this video, we're going to be breaking down all of the easiest ways to overcome objections in a one-call close home improvement sales scenario. Okay, so in my career, I was always anticipating that the homeowner was going to tell me one of three things. I got to think about it, I got to shop around, get more bids, or my price was too high. Now, we're all used to hearing those as salespeople. I will tell you that I spent years trying to overcome those objections reactively, and it's really a pain in the butt to try to overcome a predictable objection once the price is on the table. At that point, the power dynamic has shifted and the homeowner doesn't need you anymore. So now when you respond to those things and you're trying to overcome it, you can come across as argumentative, you can get commission breath. It can seem like you're not trying to help anymore, you're trying to close, and nobody likes to be closed, okay? If you're watching this video, you probably love to buy things, but you don't want to be sold things. So what I found is that over the years, the best way to overcome any of these predictable objections is to be the one who brings them up first in the house. So if I know that the homeowner is going to hit me with one of those three things, I want to kill them in their crib. The easiest way to overcome a price objection at the end is to properly price condition throughout the entire appointment. We need to set the expectation so that the homeowner has a realistic idea of what it's going to cost to do a project like this. And I see sales reps skip this all the time. You need to make sure that you are price conditioning based not only on the product that you're selling and the quality of that product, but the labor, the insurance attached to the labor. So skilled labor costs more than day labor, right? We need to talk about this with homeowners throughout the process. I also need to make them aware of not only the importance of having an insured contractor, but the ramifications of going without it. Because 60% of contractors are either uninsured or underinsured, and that opens the homeowner up to all kinds of liability. So by talking about insurance and making sure they understand that there is actually a cost associated with having a highly skilled contractor who is insured to the point where if they get hurt or heaven forbid die when they're doing a project on your property, you are safe. You're not taking on all that liability. But a company who provides that protection obviously has to charge accordingly. So most people that I talk to, they would agree that that is part of the value proposition. That is just one example of the elements that we have to put into this process in order to build enough value that when I slide the price over to them, it is at the very least meeting their expectations for the value that we put. More often than not, you want to deliver a $40,000 presentation for a $20,000 project, because then it's a no-brainer. Then that's huge value. They're going to want to buy it. But that is the easiest way to proactively kill price objections in the closing sequence. Now that leaves us the other two objections we hear all the time, which are shop around and think over.
It's time to listen up, closers. Before you go any further, you need to hear this. The Grosso University Sales Academy Masterclass is not just another training opportunity. This is the most in-demand, highest-rating sales training program in the history of the home improvement industry. Thousands of sales warriors just like you have gone through this life-changing program taught by our world-class head sales trainer, Daniel Coomes-Barry, and they are winning more and bigger because of it. If you're serious about dominating in sales, this is where you go to sharpen your edge. The best part is, it's 100% virtual and happens on the second Monday of every month, so there are absolutely zero excuses not to invest in your growth and development. Why don't you go ahead and hit the link in the description to learn more and lock in your spot and get ready to ignite the greatness within. On behalf of Grosso University, yes, you are a closer, and back to the video.
Think over objections happen because there's not enough urgency and there's not enough trust between you and the prospect. So I'm building trust when I'm doing a proper survey in the home. I need to get to know these people so that we have mutual understanding about the outcome that we're trying to achieve together. And I want to make sure that they see me as the knowledgeable, credible expert who is there to help them so that they really don't want to talk to anybody else about this, right? But on top of that, I also need to build legitimate urgency because they can like you and they can trust you and they can really love your solution. But if they don't feel like they have to buy it, if they don't feel like there's an urgent need where if they don't do this, this problem will continue to get worse and more expensive until their hand is forced. If they don't feel that way, they're not going to do it. We are natural procrastinators as homeowners, as human beings. So we kick that can down the road as long as we can. Easy for me to say. So I want to make sure that I'm building legitimate urgency. And the best way to do that is once I have built trust and rapport with them in the survey, I do a masterful measure and inspection. And as I'm going through my measurement and my inspection phase of the project where we are doing discovery, I want to use the proper tools so that we can take them from the problem that they think they're dealing with and make them aware of what is actually causing it. Because more often than not, a homeowner will tell you they have a problem. It's actually a symptom, and that is a symptom of a much larger problem. So sometimes you'll see a little stain on a ceiling somewhere, and they're like, I think my roof is leaking. Well, it's been leaking for years. It finally got through the decking and rolled down the rafters and dripped through the fiberglass insulation, all the way through the drywall, and now they've noticed the little stain. You get up in the attic and there's mold everywhere because it's been really wet and damp and warm up there for years sometimes. So we need to make them aware of what's actually going on, and by doing that, we have to paint a picture of the pain and trauma that will be caused if they don't address this now. These systems don't get better on their own. They don't even stay the same. They are always degraded and breaking down. If you have a minor failure in the system, it will become bigger and bigger, and the secondary damage that is caused by the water infiltration, the mold and mildew, the wood-destroying organisms that are going to keep eating your home is going to make this a project that costs 10 times as much in very short order. So we need to build that urgency with them so that we can at least overcome that. If they tell us they got to think about it in the closing sequence, which they will still do often, we now have an anchor point in our conversation that we can come back to. Be like, hey, if you guys want to think about it, I'm not going to twist your arm, but just remember what we found when we were looking through the FLIR thermal imaging camera, or we were leveraging some of the tools that we recommend, like a moisture meter or a digital Wi-Fi microscope or whatever it may be, so that we can show them the deficiency in their system. You guys remember when we found that earlier? Is that going to get better on its own? So we're going to get to a point where eventually you have to do this. Now, I've worked with people my entire career. I'd say half the people I talk to are proactive and half are reactive. And full transparency here, I am a commission-based salesperson. So I will take your business whenever you want to give it to me. It makes no difference whether you buy this now or later, at least to me. The only thing that changes between now and later is the price and the scope. The people who do these things proactively, in my experience, 20 years in the industry, they always spend far less money and they get a much larger return on their investment if they just nip this in the bud before they get to the point where they have to do it. But I don't care. Come back here when your roof is blowing off or it's leaking all over the kitchen. The last part I just said there, that's obviously the subtext. But I need to make sure I am removing myself from the equation, because if I am indifferent to their decision, it puts the pressure on them, but I'm not the one doing it. And that's one of the most important things you have to remember when you're overcoming objections is they have to feel a sense of urgency, but they can't feel like you're leaning on them. You need to be their trusted advisor who's trying to help them solve the problem. And objections tend to happen just because of negative emotional responses. So when you're in a closing sequence, if you have front-loaded this process the right way and there's urgency, you might still get a reflex objection like think about it, shop around, sleep on it, whatever. You can then stay in the pocket of the conversation because really what they're telling you is, I'm going through the grieving process. And there are 5 stages in the grieving process. You will have people who are angry. You're going to have people who are depressed. You're going to have people who start bargaining with you. You'll have people who are in denial. And lastly, you're going to have people who just accept it and realize that they have to do it. Well, it's your job to hang out with these people and get them all the way through that, from anger and denial to bargaining to depression to acceptance, and then help them solve the problem. That's your job. So objection handling, if you have front-loaded the process, you have now earned the right and you've set the expectation where you can go through a proper closing sequence. And this is why we call it the velvet hammer, because you are not pressuring them. You are just helping them go through all the natural human behavior that we see every day. Closing is about overcoming predictable human behavior, right? There is a type of objection that you do have to worry about. Because we talked about procrastination, shop around objections can be tricky as far as reflex objections go. Because a shop around objection is pretty vague. There are a lot of different reasons that people will tell you they need to shop around. The first reason is they don't like you or they don't trust you. That is your fault. Like, if you are this far into an appointment and they tell you they need to shop around because you never connected with them, you're probably not going to overcome it in the close. So you got to really slow play this early on and build a relationship with the person so that they trust you, because then you can cross that one off. You might still get shop around at the end, but it's not going to be because they don't like you or they don't trust you.
Hold on, closers. Are you ready to stop losing deals to the same tired old objections? At Grosso University, we've created this free closer's guide just for you. which is a proven step-by-step framework to overcome any objection in the home improvement industry. This is the exact system used by top producers in the game, closing at over 70% plus, including record-breaking selling streaks such as 40 sales in a row. Inside, you'll learn how to get to the true emotional root origin of every objection, crush resistance with confidence, and close like an absolute professional. The best part is, this framework will teach you how to become a tenacious one-call closer without building any pressure whatsoever. Don't leave money on the table. Download your free closer's guide now and start turning objections into opportunities. As always at Grosso University, yes, you are a closer, and back to the video.
The second reason that people tell you that they need to shop around is because they don't have enough information to make an educated decision right now. Whose fault is that? This guy. That means I didn't do my job differentiating and showing them the benefits that are associated with my exclusive solution. And if that's the case, they're going to want to see other people because they don't know what else is available on the market, and people inherently fear missing out on something better. So if you take them shopping early on in the appointment by doing a masterful evolution and product presentation, they won't need to shop around. You've already done that thing. And that leaves the last reason that they tell you they need to shop around, and it is price. Some people tell you they need to get more bids because they don't want to tell you your price is too high. And maybe it's because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Maybe it's because they're embarrassed that they can't afford it. There's a whole bunch of reasons that people give you shop around when it's actually price. But we need to be able to dig through that and get to the root objection, because both think over and shop around are reflex objections, and you cannot solve a reflex objection. Now, we have an objection handling framework that we train at Grosso University. It's 5 steps. There are different variations, and it's all over the place. I've studied a lot of different training techniques, and I see the same pattern over and over again. Step 1, listen. 4 to 8 seconds, just sit silently. When somebody hits you with a reflex objection, it's because they got kicked into fight or flight for some reason. You got to just chill out for a second and let them calm down. The second one, show empathy and relate to their position. They are expecting you to fight them or argue them on it, because that's what they've experienced with sales reps their whole lives. We give you an objection, you fight us on it because you're trying to close me. When you show them empathy and relate to their position, it drops their guard instantly because you have now painted a new pattern in the prospect's mind. You did the opposite of what they were expecting, and their guard goes down. Step 3, confirm and repeat their objection back to them. We want to clarify that we are looking at this the same way. So I heard what you say. You need to get more bids. Well, it sounds like you just really want to make sure you've crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, you're getting the best bang for your buck, best solution for your problem. Step 4, isolate. Other than making sure that you are getting the absolute perfect solution and a fair value, was there anything else that stopped us from getting the project while I was here? Now, you notice we use past tense language when we do that. I need to be showing this homeowner that I have given up. I'm not going to put any pressure on them. I'm just trying to clarify their thinking. Once I've isolated it, the 5th step in our objection handling framework is to solve. And I cannot solve a reflex objection. So what I need to do is get them to tell me more. Now, every single homeowner is always in what's in it for me mode. And at this point, they don't want to tell you why they're not buying. So I always be like, so guys, I always want to turn in detailed notes to the office, because the more information I can give them about our conversation, the less likely they are to blow your phone up and try to figure out, why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you buy it? It drives me nuts when companies do that, and I don't want them hounding you guys. So I'm going to tell them that you're looking to get a couple more options, and just so I can give them enough information, is it the product that you guys are still shopping around on? You're not sure if this is the right solution for you? Is it something to do with the company? Or is it more about the investment, the total cost? So now I'm going to give them 3 choices. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? If they think that I'm leaving and I'm trying to provide information to the office so they're not hounded by a company, they're far more likely to give me the information. And more often than not, people will tell you, especially if you have the trust. If the relationship's there, you've earned the right to ask these questions. When people tell you it's the money, that is a true objection. You've gotten them off of a reflex objection, which is shop around, and onto a true objection, which is money. And now we can actually attack that objection together and figure out what is the best way to solve this. And if you have seen any of our content or gone through our training course, we have tons of sub-step closes for how to make things more affordable, or do a partial project, or do a product drop, or whatever it may be, to make this more comfortable for them, because they're not comfortable with it. And I don't care how much they like you and how much they need to solve the problem and how much they want it. If they can't afford it, they cannot buy it. So we need to make it affordable, but we have to hear that that is the objection first. And that's why we go through that objection handling framework, get the clarification, and solve a true objection. That's how you deal with reflex objection, guys. The second type of objection here will be brush-off objections. And these are super tricky because they sound so good. When I started working years ago in this industry, I had an appointment I went to, and I had a guy who said to me, after I was going through my entire siding presentation, he loved everything. He was like, Dan, this is freaking awesome. He was like, I had no idea that you could even do that with siding. We love the company, the attention to detail, the color is freaking incredible. And the price isn't bad. It was like 60 grand. He was like, I have to move some money out of a long-term savings account into an account where I'm not going to get a tax penalty for spending the money. And it usually takes a few days to do that. Would you mind if I did that and we reconvened on Monday so we could write up the paperwork? And I was young at the time. So I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is a deal. I was like, yeah, it sounds great. No problem. He was, okay, I get out of work about 2 o'clock on Monday. Why don't you call me? Just make sure I'm home and then you can swing by, we'll write it up. And I floated out of that dude's house. I went back to the office and I was like, I'm writing a 60-pounder. And they were like, writing? What do you mean? And I was like, this is what happened. And these seasoned reps just started laughing their tails off at me. They were like, you idiot. That is a textbook brush-off objection. You are never going to hear from that guy again. And I hadn't been through this long enough, so I was like, no, you're out of your mind. You guys weren't there, right? Like, I know this guy. That was about 8 years ago. I'm still waiting for the phone call. It's a brush off. People do it all the time because they value the relationship and they are yesing you out the door. They don't want to hurt your feelings, but they have no intention of buying from you. So when you deal with a brush off objection, we're going to go through the exact same objection handling framework. So in this case, now that I know how this thing works, I would have just been like, well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad we have what you're looking for. Everybody tells me that about this company and this product. That's why I like working here. It sells itself. And I certainly don't want you guys getting penalized on taxes. So I am happy to do this however you're comfortable. Other than making sure you can get the money from one account to the next, was there anything else that stopped us from getting the project going while I was here? I want to make sure I give the detailed notes to the office. At which point, when somebody hits you with a brush off and they think you bought it, when you summarize their position and you act like you're about to leave, they double down. I've had people do this since I learned how to overcome brush offs, and they'd be like, that was it, man. We can't wait. If we could do it right now, we would. I'd be like, hey, that's all I want to hear. And I'd shake their hand and I'd be like, just so you know, there's a way that you can have your cake and eat it too. Let me show you how easy this is. How about we do this? We write up the agreement for you. We got 2 options. You can post date the deposit check, because we still have to send a measure technician out here so that they can double check the measurements before we order anything. We're not going to order anything until we get the deposit. So we got time, but at least we can get you on the books. You can also take advantage of the initial as a reward that way. So you're getting the best bang for your buck on the overall investment. Or if you don't want to post date a check, because maybe it takes a little longer to move the money, we offer bridge loans. So we can give you a no interest, no payment setup on this where there's no prepayment penalty, but you get 6 months from install to pay it off at your leisure. That way you can put down a minimum deposit this afternoon, a couple $100. We can get the project started, third party holds the note, and then if you want to stroke a check for the total when we complete our project, you can do that because there's no prepayment penalty. Or if you want to take advantage of the 6 months, no interest, no payment, you can use the whole term. If your money's invested, you're making money on it, keep it in the market, you know? Let me make this easier for you. Let's just get it started. Now, if that's a true objection and he was actually going to buy, did I just solve it? We got 2 easy ways to do it. Which way you want to go, this way or this way? If it was a brush-off objection, I have now forced his hand, where he is going to have to give me a reflex objection. He has to be more direct with his messaging. And I have plausible deniabilities. I'm just here to help, you know? So if he comes back and goes, oh man, you know what? Those are great options. But I also want to think about it. Or I also, obviously, because of the size of the job, I got to get a couple more bids. You understand, right? Well, now I'm getting him to walk from brush-off down to a reflex objection, at which point I can go through sub-step closing and draw out the true objection and figure out where the discomfort lies. Is it the investment? Is it the product? What are we missing? You know, fear of missing out, could be anything. So I really hope this was helpful for you, but don't put yourself in a position where you're leaving the doors open throughout the sales process where it could come back to bite you in the butt when you go to close and somebody hits you with a predictable objection. The best way to overcome any objection is to bring it up first, and the greatest close in the world is a masterful presentation. So if you make people feel special and you design a solution that they freaking love, they're going to want to buy it from you. And the better you are at selling, the less you're going to have to close. And as a collaborative salesperson, I would much rather have somebody who's asking me, how do we proceed to buy this thing, than me trying to talk them into pulling the trigger on it when they should have been sold an hour ago. So I hope this helps you when you're going throughout your objection handling, especially if you're a first call closer. I know how stressful this can be in the house. If you want to learn more about it, check us out at grossouniversity.com. We do a 2-week course every month on this stuff, and we get deep in the weeds. So I'm Dan Coomes-Barry. Hope you liked the video. From all of us here at Grosso University, yes, you are a closer.